Well, I think we're really lucky today. So we've had a go at Boulder Dash, and you've managed to actually speak to somebody who was contributing to these games all those years ago. So you're a really lucky boy. What we're going to do to finish this episode now is we're going to have a look at something called sprite design. So you've heard of sprites before? Yeah? What are sprites?
Well, sprites are almost the characters in a game.
Yeah, they're the parts of the game that move around that you control, or things that you will hunt, or things that hunt you, or something like that. So in the game of Pac-Man is a sprite, but also the little ghosts that go around the maze are also the sprite. Okay, so we're going to jump over to our computer now and have a little look at how sprite design works, and we're going to use Commodore 64 as a quick example. So we have a grid here that represents pixels, and we can design a sprite within this pixel pattern. Now each 8 squares represents 1 byte of information. Okay, so by changing this into ones and zeros, we can flick the color on and off, and then that will turn it into a binary number, which can then get converted into a decimal number by doing the 2 times 2 times 2 rule. Okay, we won't go into that bit in too much detail, but what I just want to show you is if I change the first byte to all ones instead of zeros, you should have seen this number here climbing on the right hand side. It becomes a sum of this, which is all of those numbers doubling up by 2. Yeah, so if you watch these numbers here, as I change them back to zeros, you'll see that the numbers turn to zeros, you see?
I see it dropping.
Yeah, so we can delete all of those. So a really quick job for you. I want you to design a sprite within here for me. Okay? So you can have a go at that. All you have to do is move around with the cursor and hit number 1 where you want a 1. Okay?
How do I make it actually turn black though?
It will do it automatically.
Okay.
Yeah? We'll probably fast forward through this bit, so take as much time as you want. Right, are you happy with that?
Yep.
Good. So for everybody else, you've probably seen that on super fast forward. I've just had to sit here for 3 or 4 minutes and sort of half admire the entrepreneurial efforts of my son. And I'm half thinking, look, if we can just get 7 billion subscribers as quickly as possible, let's get it done, and then we can just start enjoying the computers rather than trying to encourage people to subscribe. Right, you've heard the message. You must like and subscribe for us. Okay, so that's the sprite now. Now have a look at my design that I did earlier, because I think it was extremely artistic. Do you like
a
mine?
Halloween.
Yeah, it's like a scary zombie face with some curly hair on top. I thought I did quite well, but nevertheless, we're going to use yours.
His hair's made of macaroni.
So because we have lots and lots of blank bits, you can see there's lots and lots of zeros in our grid, and it just fills in with some numbers to fill in the bits in the bytes that are relevant, and then that gives us some coding over here. Okay, now what that means is that all of this can get condensed down into some code, which is here, and this we're going to be able to copy into our little program that we're now going to write in Commodore Basic. So I'm going to jump over to Commodore Basic, and then for the benefit of the viewers we will speed up again, but I'm going to write out a quick program, explain what it should do, and then we'll run it and see whether it works. Okay, so bear with me folks. Okay, so this time it was Luigi's turn to be really bored, waiting for me to key everything in and just to test that it's working. So I'm going to run the program first, and we're going to see what happens. The last few rows from here downwards, these are just the data that we copied over from Excel, so this is actually the data for the sprite. All of the rows above are telling the computer what to do with the sprite. So let's see what actually happens when we run it, okay? Okay, so we now have a sprite moving across the screen, starting at a certain point and then moving its way diagonally across the screen. Okay, and that's all it's doing. Nice and simple at the moment. Let's just go back and have a look at our code. The sprite actually won't disappear because we haven't told the computer to remove it. Okay, but you can see here that you've got a few instructions. So this little instruction here with the heart, it's actually the clear screen button on the Commodore, and when you put it in the code, it comes out looking like a heart. The V, so here you're setting up a variable. You remember when you did A equals 2? Well, here we're saying that V equals 53248. And when we looked at the memory map earlier on, we would have seen that 53248 is the beginning of the video chip. So now wherever you see V, it's like referencing a part in the video chip, because this is V plus 21 bytes. So that's a particular location. And when we put the value 4 into it with a poke command, so here you're actually poking a particular byte, and you're saying that you've got a value of 4 in there, which means turn on that particular sprite. Okay, and then down here it sets up the job of working out what the sprite should look like, which is taken from the data. It's reading the data where it says read queue, so that's this data down here. And then lastly, these lines actually tell it how to move across the screen. So the variable x is going to increase from 0 to 200 over time, and then it's going to move across the V plus 4 and the V plus 5 place on the vid chip. They're the x coordinate and the y coordinate on the screen, and that's going to keep stepping up, which will make it move diagonally across the screen. Yeah. So because the x coordinate and the y coordinate are increasing at the same pace, you get the sprite moving across at a 90-degree angle. Let's just look at that. Yeah, you can see it's moving across at well, it's a 45-degree angle, isn't it? Sorry,
yeah.
It's going across diagonally. If we change those variables, so if we were to say this is going to be x times 0.75, so the x variable decreases at a different pace to what let's make the y coordinate go x times 1.3, then the angle that the sprite moves will change. Okay, let's test it. See that?
Much steeper angle.
So it's got a steeper angle because the x and y coordinates are changing. And then it's come to a problem where it's actually got a value that's too high for x, so it isn't working properly. But hey, that's because I'm not very good at coding, basically. All right, so there we go. That's how the Commodore handles sprites. It looks at the binary pattern for the different pixels within the sprite. They can be converted for our purposes for BASIC into decimal numbers and get entered in as decimal numbers, but the computer will actually read them as binary. And then you use other bits of code to work out what sprites are turned on, where they are on the screen, how they're moving, what color they are, and you can even expand them and make them like double the size as well if you wanted a really big okay, which I'm sure you would. Cool. All right, well done. Thank you very much for listening.